Welcome everyone to episode 33 of the Phoenix Report. I'm Jack Connor. This is a very unique episode in that it's not one or two guests, it's actually several guests. You see, back in November 26th, the band and I played a really cool festival called Black Saturday Fest in Palm Bay, Florida. It was held at the Space Coast Harley-Davidson. And there were several bands there throughout the day. Headlining, of course, was Blackfoot. And I say of course. Why would I say of course? You guys weren't there, but Blackfoot was the headliner. And, we had managed to play two acoustic sets. Me and my band, Vertebreaker, for those of you who are not familiar. Well, anyway, I decided to go around with my phone and see who I could get to maybe give me a little bit of time to record a little interview, maybe put it on this podcast. And I managed to get two really good interviews out of it. One of it, which was with Jasin Todd and Trista Mabry, who played two excellent acoustic sets of original and cover material. They were just outstanding. Now, Jasin Todd, for those of you who don't know, was the original lead guitar player of Shinedown, and he later went on to play in Fuel for a little bit. Actually, if you go back a couple episodes ago, I did an interview with Jasin Todd and with Delacoma Rio. Back when they were playing here earlier this year, in 2016, I should say. And so Jasin is one of the first two-time guests I've had on the show. Now, Trista Mabry, a very talented singer-songwriter from Nashville, she was down there playing two acoustic sets with Jasin, as I mentioned before. She and Jasin have been in a band called Trista The Sweats for a little bit, and Trista also plays in a band called Bang Bang as well. She'll go into greater detail with that. Both of them are based out of Nashville, but they were starting their tour in Palm Bay at the festival, so I figured it would be a good idea to promote that. And now it's December, so I don't know necessarily if their tour has wrapped up by now. It may have by the time you're listening to this, but either way, I'll definitely go and give a link for that in the description to this, so you can follow them on all their social media. And so I would say the first 10 minutes or so is going to be my chat with Jasin and Trista. So enjoy. I'm here outside live at the Space Coast Black Saturday Fest here at Space Coast Harley-Davidson in Palm Bay. Me and Vertebreaker just did about two acoustic sets, I should say, outside here. Blackfoot is headlining, and also, actually, joining us here on stage was Jasin Todd and Trista Mabry, who are both here with me right now. Jasin, of course, has been on the show before, best known for his work as a founding member of Shinedown. Trista is, a singer-songwriter here from Nashville. And why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves?
Hi.
Say hello.
Hello.
God. That was Trista.
Excellent. Now Trista, are you in another band or something?
Yes, I have a all-girl project right now in Nashville called Bang Bang.
Very cool.
So,
Very cool.
Bang bang. Pow pow.
Very nice. Sound effects, onomatopoeia, all that. But this is great. You guys came down all the way from Nashville to do this. And how long have you two been working together?
Well, we started this. Well, we recorded some stuff about 2.5 years ago, and but this tour, we've done 2 tours so far, but this is the first day of this tour, and it runs up until probably February 22nd right now. So
Gotcha.
this one goes through right up until Christmas, and then we take a Christmas break, come back in January and February.
Very cool. How did you two meet, by the way? Obviously, you have your band, Bang Bang.
well, I was playing in this band in Nashville called the Reverse Cowgirls at the time. And
okay.
we
I love that name.
Great name, right?
Great name.
And we were working with a producer in Nashville. His name was Brian Irwin. He's... But he was also doing some work with Jasin. Jasin had just moved to Nashville, and we met through him, I guess. He hosted a dinner party, and that's how we met each other. So then we, Jasin, I guess, I was doing an album called Trista The Sweats. It was like an old band that I was in, and Jasin played guitar on all of that stuff.
Oh, okay.
So that's pretty much what we were playing tonight. That's what we've been touring with.
All right. I noticed you guys were doing a mix of original and cover material.
Yeah.
I heard some Fleetwood Mac in there and a few other things.
Yep.
So that's very cool. So the idea to tour together, obviously you've known each other kind of, from just being in the business, maybe a little recording here and there. How did the tour, like, who brought that idea up?
Well, it was just a matter of, like, it's hard when you live in Nashville, there's really no money there, and I can see, like, she was starting to get stressed out not being able to play because people aren't really attentive there,
Really?
So I was like, you got to get out of Nashville.
It's very saturated.
Because it'll kill your soul, because there's just nowhere to play, and if you play for free, and you play for 6 hours, and
That's so interesting.
it's all covers, and no one really cares because everybody plays there, it's like
everybody's good.
the guy pumping your gas, I like to say, will
right.
fucking just school your ass on every instrument, and he's pumping gas, so it's just no one really is.
That's so interesting because I think of like larger cities like New York or LA or Nashville has become so huge
now. It's more like LA where they don't care, It's that because everyone there is a musician,
Right.
Everyone's good.
So basically, I was like, you got to get out of Nashville.
So interesting.
Because people actually care when you go across
Yeah.
anywhere outside of Nashville. People listen to your
People
music.
listen and they care.
So
That's so weird because you would think the whole idea is like, oh, you got to go to a big city. You got to go to
it's the opposite.
Nashville
To get
or something.
inspired.
No,
Right, or because that's where the business is and that's where you're like.
It's
but
the opposite. I try to tell people not to go there if you want to have a chance of trying to play music. So to fight off her depression, we decided we just got to go on the road. Yeah,
So,
gotcha. Well, I mean, Jason, you're no stranger to that. Obviously, back in January when we did our thing with Delacoma, you were on this show. Actually, I think you're the first 2-time guest, by the way.
I like seeing Jason do all these acoustic gigs, like with Dell and.
It's weird. And it just makes sense right now. Instead of having we would love to have a bass player and a drummer come out with us, but right now it just makes more sense for the two of us.
It's probably more cost effective, I would think.
It's definitely more cost effective, and we have a thing that we can do, and there's a certain vibe. So
Sure.
Yeah.
So are there plans of like making a record together or something in the future? Because you have your band.
Make a second one. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely wanting to start a writing process and get in the studio.
Possibly if we have a couple days off in January, we'd probably start doing that.
And you think that might turn into a full band? Or
we would hope so.
Yeah.
We have a bass player in mind, but it's just to try to get people to do what we do is very tough as
Right.
far as leaving home for 2 months.
Yes.
That is not something that you can find, especially when you get a little older. You can't. A lot of people aren't willing to just say, "Hey, let's go," and we are.
Yeah.
So.
Definitely. Well, I mean, like you said, it's a rare thing. I mean, I can speak as a guy who plays locally here, and a lot of other guys feel the same way. It's very tough, especially when you have jobs and families and that sort of thing.
And this is our job, so it's easier for us to just do it alone right now because it's just we can't find anybody right now that's willing to do that. So
Gotcha.
Hopefully in the future.
Now, the stuff you've been collaborating on, when you record it, do you think it'll be more acoustic based, or do you think you'll have some electric vibes?
It's rock.
No, it'll definitely
She plays
be
the
rock.
acoustic, but on all the stuff.
But I do play electric guitar too. I play my Strat, so I don't know.
No, it'll be rock.
It'll be rock, yeah.
We just break it down to acoustics when we come out alone.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I mean, obviously, I've met Jason before. Trista, we have just met, so I'm kind of finding out more about you and your background. Who are some of your big influences as far as...
Oh, definitely Stevie Nicks. Like, that's from such a young age. Like, my mom used to play Fleetwood Mac for me, and that was like my first like real connection in that and like Led Zeppelin. Everybody goes back to Robert Plant, But that was like the first thing that really touched me, like musically.
Yeah.
I felt something, and I knew
Robert
that
Plant and Jimmy Page have touched quite a few people.
Definitely.
I mean, I remember being like
in more ways than one.
7,
I'm sure.
7 or 8.
Easy.
I just remember being like a kid and being like, whoa, I feel something,
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I know the feeling, because I remember, like, where I was when I first heard A Whole Lot of Love.
Oh, yeah.
And stuff like that.
It just
like,
does something to you,
unbelievable. And you're from Kentucky originally?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Eastern Kentucky.
Gotcha. And did you live anywhere else besides Nashville, or...?
No, I went to college at Morehead State University, which is actually my hometown.
Gotcha.
And as soon as I was done with my degree, I'm like, moved to Nashville. Like, I just knew I wanted to try to do this music thing.
That was it?
Whatever it is.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, you're smart at least for getting a college degree. That's not a bad move.
It's not. I am happy that
I know
have
people say you shouldn't have a backup plan, but that's bullshit. You should have a
No,
backup
I'm
plan.
glad that I have that under my belt,
Sorry about that. Yeah, absolutely. So, very cool. So how long are you guys going to be on the road, or at least for this leg?
Right.
I think I already asked you that.
Well, yeah, but definitively we have shows booked up until December 17th. and I think there's a few more coming, and then we take Christmas off and then get back on early January.
Gotcha.
The last one booked right now is February 22nd, so we know we'll be out till then.
Very exciting. Very cool.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll have to see if I don't know if you're I don't know if you're staying within Florida for a little bit or maybe doing
we
any
do
Orlando
Green
stuff.
Acres, then we do Gainesville, and then Jacksonville, Port Canaveral, and then we start heading up north.
Very cool.
Like Carolinas.
Yeah.
Through the south.
Yeah.
Okay, mainly sticking in the southeast,
Right.
but that's cool. Yeah, definitely a lot of.
Well, we're hitting
actually-
Iowa and Wisconsin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're
Heading out to the
north.
Midwest. Very
To
cool.
the cold.
Yeah. Definitely right in the thick of it. So, where can people go online to find your stuff?
The stuff that we did is under Trista The Sweats, and that's on Spotify and iTunes if you want to purchase it.
Trista The Sweats. Okay.
Yeah, and she has Trista Mabry on Facebook
Yeah,
and
Trista
Instagram
Mabry,
and Twitter.
All of that, it's under Trista Mabry, just my solo name.
Is it just at Trista Mabry on Twitter? Or?
No, it's actually Trista_Brooke. I need to change that. But,
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, we'll have a link to all your social media
But,
and all that stuff in the description.
Yeah, Facebook is Trista Mabry, and
all the standard
Jasin
stuff.
Todd.
Yeah. I think Jason O'Neill Todd on
That's
Facebook.
it on Facebook, yeah. And then just Jasin Todd on Instagram and Twitter.
Very good, very good, guys. Thank you for playing with us and
Thanks
sitting
for
down
having
and
us. You
talking.
guys are great. I love seeing 17 guitars on stage.
Right now, what he's referring to, like there was all five of us were playing guitar at one point, and
there was clarinets and glockenspiel and all kinds of wonderful things.
that was down in the orchestra pit. I tried to hide them like out of plain view. You don't want to tip your hand.
Totally.
Too much.
Totally.
No, that was great. But
Very-
thank you for
very-
having us.
Very cool. Thank you guys for being on the show, and good luck on the rest of the
Absolutely.
tour.
Oh, thank you.
All right. Thanks so much to Jason and Trista for a great little chat. Kept it short and sweet, but very informative for sure. Check the links below in the description where you can find out all the information you need to on Jasin Todd and Trista Mabry. Now, this next interview was really interesting. It's with a guy named Tim Rossi. He is one of the lead singers and guitar players of the band Blackfoot, who ended up headlining Black Saturday Fest. Now, this band has a very interesting history and is in a very unique situation. Something that I think we'll see more of in the years to come in the world of rock and roll. So I'm just going to cut right into that now, and you'll find out a little bit more. So here is the interview with Tim Rossi. I am out here once again at the Black Saturday Fest, but I am talking with one of the headliners right now. He is from the band Blackfoot. Interesting thing about Blackfoot is that this band dates all the way back to 1969, founded by singer and guitarist Ricky Medlock, who later went on to join Leonard Skinner, a band he is still with today. Now, Blackfoot has been on and off, for almost 50 years now, and they're mainly known for some later hits in the late 70s, early 80s, such as Train Train, Highway Song, and a cover of Free's Wishing Well, I believe. So the band has been together for a long time. But in 2012, an interesting thing happened. Ricky Medlock, who of course is still with Leonard Skinner, had thought about reforming the band with maybe some new members, but decided to go a different route. And this is something we've started to see a little bit in rock and roll these days, and it's still relatively a new thing. But he decided to step back and become a producer and have four young guys kind of take over the role as Blackfoot and sort of be a new generation of Blackfoot. So they're both a new band and an old band, but with that legacy in there. It's very interesting. And with me I have the singer and guitar player of Blackfoot, Mr. Tim Rossi, is here with me. Tim, welcome to the show.
Good to have me. Good. Thank you for having me, and good to be here, Jeff.
Anytime. Now, you
Get that
guys
straight,
Now it's interesting. Blackfoot has its first album in over 20 years. Southern Native is out right now. I just bought a copy of it myself.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
and I'd seen the video on YouTube that you guys had done. I was just really impressed by the song, and just interesting to have like that kind of lyrical phrasing, but almost with sort of almost a few like prog metal influences in there. But it's very much a Southern rock, very much timeless Southern rock, and it's interesting having this obviously a legendary Southern rock band, but with a fresh coat of paint, with a bunch of young guys in it, and sort of carrying on that tradition. I mean, it's such a unique thing in rock and roll. You've started to see that a little bit with like Foreigner, for example.
Yeah.
They've started to do that where Mick Jones only shows up every now and then, and as I understand, it's similar where Ricky will occasionally join you guys on stage.
Exactly. Yes, and it's funny because Ricky and Mick Jones have both talked about that. They've been friends for many years.
Of course.
And so he's told us a few times that when they've gotten together that they discuss that they're both in similar situations right now and how much they enjoy doing it, And so, yeah, like we just did a show with Ricky New York City, and he sat in, and it's a blast playing with him. I mean, recording and writing and, you know, working with him in that context is really awesome, kind of behind the scenes stuff. But actually getting him out on the stage with his Les Paul blasting and, you know, slide guitar going nuts, and you know, you can't beat it. I'm
sure all the guys in the band must be like, okay, Dad is here.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he showed
exactly.
up. Time to get serious.
Yeah, exactly. No fooling around, guys.
Definitely. But I mean, it's incredible. And I imagine we're probably going to see more and more of that as years goes on, especially as a lot of these classic artists, you know, these guys aren't getting any younger. You know, some of these guys aren't with us anymore, and a lot of those guys don't necessarily want to tour. I've heard Brian and Roger from Queen talk about that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Kiss has already said it. Once Gene and Paul retire, they're going to get some new guys in. Like, they've pretty much said it, that they're going to do it.
Yeah,
eventually.
exactly. And there's actually other guys, friends of Ricky's, that are well-known rock legends out there. I won't name names, but that have talking to him and saying, man, what you're doing is cool. And like we're sitting back and we're thinking about when we're getting ready to retire, maybe we're going to go that route too, you know.
Just get some young cats up and do it. And
yeah, and keep it going. Keep the songs alive, but start creating new as you go along. And
that's the key thing, because you guys do have the new record out. And I know some people might like kind of cringe at the thought of like, you know, but like you guys are more than just a glorified tribute band because you are making new music.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you come to see us too, you'll be able to tell that some people might say, oh, tribute band, but in the sense of a tribute band probably plays everything note for note and tries to replicate everything exactly how it was. Whereas we just kind of interpret and play the songs how we feel them, which Ricky's always encouraged us to do that as well. But we just try to keep the spirit and the contour and the vibe.
Yeah, you still have the integrity of the song, but
yeah,
like you guys are throwing some modern techniques in there. Obviously, with your drummer, you know, going on and just doing like double bass and stuff like that, and you guys are really like doing a lot of tapping and like sweep picking and stuff like that. It's incredible.
Yeah, and it's cool because we find a way that it works. It's not like we're trying to force feed any of that stuff into the songs or to the audience in a way that's weird or awkward. It's just something that's natural that comes to us.
Plus, you guys are energetic about it. You're energetic about the material, and although I imagine it's got to be a bit of a double-edged sword in the sense where it's like you guys are just kind of beginning your careers. You want to make your own stamp on things. So it's like at the same time you have to uphold this legacy that's been around for a while and play these songs and kind of explain to people that, yes, we're Blackfoot, but we're all not necessarily the Blackfoot you remember.
Yeah.
And at the same time you want to make your own stamp. I guess what I'm curious about is how involved was Ricky with the writing process of the new songs during the album?
He was really involved. I mean, it was in a good way, though. It was sort of like we would come up with songs, and then we would bring songs to him, and he would go, ooh, that's cool, I like that. Pick up a guitar, we'd stop playing, and then from there he would put his input and and maybe mold things, and and he was the kind of guy that if you ever hit a wall with something and you were like, I need an idea for something right here, he's like, ooh, I got a great idea, you know what I mean? And so it's cool. It was like, and there was a few things that were songs that he had, and then we worked him up, and but as far as all the songs that we co-wrote together, it was pretty much songs that we initially came up with, and then from there he got in on it, and he he put his influence and ideas and stuff. And so it was cool. It wasn't like, hey, this is a song, you got to do this, or you got to do it like this. It was like, what do you got? And they like, hey, I like that. And
he was the producer, but he wasn't like trying to call all the shots. Is what I'm saying.
Exactly. And it was the same with the writing and the input of the writing. It was very, very open, and he was really just there when you needed some input. He was always like, Ricky, what should I do right here with this? Right. I'm not sure, like, why don't you do this? That thing that you do like that, do that right there. You know what I mean? He's just like, he's got more energy than anybody I know. And
I believe it.
He's got ideas, like just endless ideas. And so in that sense, he's just so great to work with. And as well, too, as a producer, he's got such a good ear. he plays all the instruments. So, and he's been on both sides of the glass.
Sure.
So now with us, he's got kicked. He's like, I've been with the guys that beat the crap out of me while I'm recording an album, and he's like, I know how it is. So it's
right, he doesn't want to like dominate, and because yes, Blackfoot is his baby, but he has a level of trust with you guys, obviously.
Yeah.
To kind of carry on.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, no, it's just. I mean, I guess it's got to be an uphill battle getting on the road and playing and trying to like win over new fans. I mean, I imagine some of the advantage might be, especially if there are like younger kids out there who might not be as familiar with Blackfoot. They might see you guys are like, well, they're not really that old. They're not a bunch of old guys up there. I might want to check that out.
Yeah, exactly. There's kind of two sides to it. There's the young audience that doesn't really know the history of Blackfoot or Blackfoot at all necessarily. So they don't judge you at all.
Sure.
On the past. They just go, this is a new band. This is cool. I like it. And
right.
So they're the ones that are very easy to win over, which is great. The other half is the old school fans that, and right now I'll say to any diehard old school fans out there, we want to say thank you for giving us a chance and coming to the shows and listening to us, and because so many of them have been so great to us. I mean, there's still a minority that just will never be able to
right.
Wrap around, that idea of like, okay, it's new guys, but
right.
But the majority have been great to us.
And it's not like you guys took the name from them. I mean, it's like Ricky picked these guys.
Yeah.
So if Ricky says it's all right, you should be okay with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
In theory, hopefully
right?
that works.
Think,
Yeah. And yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You've got the blessing from the Godfather himself. So
exactly. That's what I say to people. I say, hey, look, if you were in my shoes and Ricky Medlock came to you and said, hey, I want you to like keep Southern rock alive and moving and carry on the legacy, like, what would you say? No, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, of course.
And plus, I mean, the advantage of it, you probably do get opportunities, having that history that maybe if you were a brand new band with a new name, it might be a little tougher to get.
Absolutely.
So it's like there are two sides to it.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's a lot of advantages, and then of course, the disadvantages are just that you have people, some of the old school guys that are just rallying, and going, I don't know about this. Let me check this out.
And it's like, look, man, we're gonna play the hits, obviously, but we have some new stuff.
Yeah.
So it's you're kind of getting the best of both worlds, and it should be interesting to see how that goes, and to see some other older bands as the years go on, if they're going to do that, how it's going to happen, and it's almost like franchising, these older bands out, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that pretty much kind of sums it up. Although it makes it sound very, because really it's not that. It's not. A lot of people out there screaming, "Oh, it's about money and it's about all this and that," and it's not about that. It's about carrying on a legacy and Ricky wanting the name to live on, and new music, because like Ricky talks a lot about how in Spinnit, at the Spinnit shows, they see 3 definite generations of fans there.
Sure.
They have the grandparents, the original fans, then they have the sons, and then they have the sons with their little kids now. So you got grandkids there.
Exactly.
And he's like, I used to just look at the audience and think, man, I would love to be able to do that with Blackfoot. And so that tied into the whole concept of a new Blackfoot.
Well, I mean, and at the same point, like, I'm sure that Spinnit is going to carry on once Gary Rossington retires. Because I think he's the last man from the original lineup that's still around.
Yeah, that's right. Gary is the man, and God only knows what they'll do. I mean, I know Gary's attitude is
unless they bring back Artemis Pyle, but we don't know. But I mean,
that remains to be seen.
I think those might be the other 2 guys who might be still with us. So I mean, we don't know.
And I'm guessing that Gary Rossington is going to outlive all of us.
Probably. There will be cockroaches in Gary Rossington.
He's like, that guy, nothing can take him down.
No.
He's amazing. He's like bulletproof. So.
Yeah. So that's for Ross. Now what was some of your history before getting in touch with Blackfoot and everything? Like, what were some? I'm sure you've played in some other bands before this. Obviously, how did you get involved with Ricky and the whole camp there?
Basically, I was playing around in the same area where Ricky lives in Southwest Florida, and basically what happened was I kind of got on Ricky's radar because I was playing around town, and so and I initially just started working with Ricky and his longtime producer and manager, Al Nally, who is the guy that produced all the old classic Blackfoot records.
Yeah.
They've been together going on 40 years or whatever now. And
Right.
they're still together. So I started working with them, just writing some songs and doing it was a 3-piece kind of contemporary blues rock thing at the time. And we didn't really, we just, I was like, cool, let's, and so I was writing songs and working with them. And then sort of in the middle of it was when Ricky kind of had the idea, like, we've been talking about this idea, and he told me about it, and he said, this is what it is, and he said, would you be interested in doing something like that? And I was like, absolutely. I mean, when he explained it to me, I got it right away. Some people don't get it, doesn't click, but when he said it to me, I went, makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's awesome idea, and I just thought that he has the balls to do it where a lot of other people wouldn't dare to do it. And
Very
Ricky's
cool.
kind of a trailblazer. I mean, that's kind of his history, is to do stuff other people wouldn't necessarily do. And,
Sure.
so to me, when he told me, I was like, I'm all in. And it's worked out. We've just, since that day, we've been doing
Very
it.
cool. Well, I mean, that's cool to have that opportunity, being, a guy playing around locally, and then to get that call is pretty wild.
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Are you from Florida originally?
No, I'm from Boston originally, but
I was about to say, I could hear that accent right away.
It's a lot warmer and nicer in Boston, so it's like, geez, I'm freezing right now. But I was down.
I mean, I could tell you're not actually a Southern native.
Yeah, some people say
it's a little bit misleading.
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'm from Philly, so I get it. So up the Northeast, so
exactly.
So it's got to be
the
funny
weather's
writing.
great down there, so
Right, it's got to be funny writing lyrics to a song like Southern Native. So it's
I've always loved and lived Southern rock. So it's funny because you would know. I mean, Philly. I mean, up Northeast, Southern rock is huge up in those areas.
It is. I mean, I have cousins up there who listen to country music and stuff like that. And I think there's a timelessness about this genre of music. Southern rock, hard rock, all of it, heavy metal, I guess, for lack of a better term, it transcends a lot of those borders, I think. And I think there are a lot of kids out there who still like it. It may not be the most popular thing on the radio right now. It may be completely ignored by the mainstream media right now. But there's a timelessness to it. And I love what you guys are doing. And you guys do it in a very fresh and, interesting way. It's not old hat. It's something new and familiar at the same time. So I just wish you guys continued success.
Thank you so much, Jack. I appreciate it.
No problem. Blackfootband.com is the website. Where else could they find you?
Of course, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. If you search official Blackfoot, all that stuff will come up. And you can get the new CD, Southern Native. It's on Amazon. You can get it on iTunes. All the usual suspects, you can find it. And so go out there and check it out. There's a video for Southern Native on YouTube as well, and you guys can check it out, sample it, see how you feel about it.
But features the man himself, there as well, doing a little cameo towards the end.
Yeah,
that was great.
exactly. We dragged Ricky on there. We're like, come on. So we thank everybody for checking it out, and the old school fans, we thank them for giving us a shot, and they've been really kind to us. And all the new fans, we love the new fans, and so to everybody we say thank you. And
this is great. Theoretically, Blackfoot could be around for another 100 years.
Yeah, exactly.
At this rate.
Exactly.
In one form or another.
Yeah,
Anyways,
I hope so.
You never know.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Blackfoot's new album, Southern Native, and it's out in stores now. Tim, thank you so much for joining me here on the show.
Thank you so much, Jack.
My thanks once again to Tim Rossi. Go check out Blackfoot. They're doing a lot of really good things. Their album Southern Native is out. The lead single, also called Southern Native, is on YouTube right now. Go check that out. It's really good stuff. So by all means, go check out Blackfoot. Blackfootband.com. Now, as you can probably tell, this is probably one of my shorter podcasts so far. I think right now we're at about, I want to say, the 30-minute mark, just under that. So I was trying to, go around to see, ask some of my friends and some of the fans of the podcast, just to maybe ask a few questions if there are anything people wanted me to talk about. And I got a really interesting question from my good friend Nick Amin. He's a chief petty officer in the U.S. Coast Guard. He's a friend of mine for oh man, like almost 15 years now. I've known this guy for a long time. He and I went to the same high school, and he's he's also an incredible musician, singer-songwriter, guitar player, and just one of my best friends. I definitely have looked up to this guy for years. He's just a great guy, super talented. And he asked me, how do I balance everything that I have going on in my life? Between work and being in the band and doing this podcast and everything else. And I was a little taken aback by that because Nick, and by the way, I want to get Nick on this podcast eventually because he and I go way back and he has a really interesting story to tell. Talk about a guy who has managed to balance all the responsibilities of being an officer in the Coast Guard with his, his burgeoning photography business, also writes and records and produces a lot of his own music as well, in addition to being a family man and to being a husband and a father of two. So Nick, I know you're probably listening. I'm curious how you balance everything. But since you asked me how I balance everything, it's kind of an interesting thing. And, it might not seem like the most, probing question out there, but it is very personal. And this podcast is an extension of my personality. And I wanted to be able to share that with you, everyone who's listening. So thank you for continuing to listen, obviously, and caring enough about what I have to say. So how do I balance everything? Well, I think in order to do that, I should probably give you, just kind of tell you all what sort of a typical week is in my life. I work a full-time job, 40 hours a week from Monday through Thursday, typically, occasionally on Friday. I'm lucky enough to have a very flexible job where I can have a little bit more flexibility in terms of scheduling my hours. So most of the time I'll work from Monday through Thursday. I'll usually get in around like 7:30 and probably get out around 5:30 and usually go hit the gym after that. I've done CrossFit for many years. I'm definitely probably not the poster boy for CrossFit. But I try to get in, I try to get in 3 times a week. Usually if I'm lucky I'll get in there twice, depending on what I have going on during the week. So I usually try to do that. I do work another job on the weekends, as I mentioned, at Disney World, at one of the hotels, the Art of Animation. So if you're staying there, I'll probably be in the food court in a brightly colored outfit. You can always say hi to me. And, but I usually work there Friday, Saturdays, and Sunday nights. Usually speaking. I mean, there are always times where I can give away shifts and trade things out if I have like a gig on the weekends. Typically I'll get together with Vertebreaker on Thursday nights, and usually most of the time my wife is she's a school teacher, so she works during the day, but she is also a very busy person. Like, she comes home, she works on lesson plans, or she's doing something with the house, or she also has another little part-time job as well. So it's like a lot of times she'll be working on Wednesday nights or doing tutoring or stuff like that. So usually Wednesday nights is a good time, where I'm home by myself. Usually I can record a podcast or work on it or whatever it may be. And so I mean that's kind of my week in a nutshell. I don't say I have the craziest schedule. I mean, yes, I work about 7 days a week, but, and that takes up a lot of my time. But just from there, I'm thankful to that I get the chance to practice with my band still, even though I live in Orlando and they're in Melbourne, which that's like about a 2-hour drive. So, it's a lot of driving on Thursday nights, but thankfully I'm only getting together with them once a week. It's a good thing I started the band when I was living in Melbourne at the time, because if we were just starting now and I lived where I live, it would be a lot tougher to do that. But I think we've put in enough time where it's a little bit easier to do that. And thankfully, those guys are also able to get together without me sometimes to just kind of work on the music. It's kind of the benefit of just being the singer in this band and not really having to worry about the guitar parts too often, because or drums and bass in this case. So, I mean, I let those guys kind of worry about that, so we kind of balance it out that way. I think it's just like anything else in life. You make you make time for the things that are important to you, and of course I try my best to be the best husband I can be, and when June shows up, I'm gonna be a father. I mentioned this before in the other podcast that my wife is expecting our first child. That is due in June, and so that's going to be a big change. How that's going to affect things, I don't know yet. I mean, it's going to take up a lot of my time as well. But yeah, I have a busy schedule, but I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. There are times where it gets worse than others, but I'd like to think I manage it pretty well. I think there has to be a balance in life. I'm fortunate enough to work a job that allows me to do the things that I enjoy, even though the job isn't necessarily my passion. But that's okay because it allows me to pursue my passions. And I think I think of people who don't necessarily have that luxury and who have to focus almost 100% of their efforts into work. I think of my sister, who is a doctor, who ever since she was in med school, that was her main thing. And I'm glad that she's doing what makes her happy, obviously, but that's a job that would probably be very tough to balance a music career and to do other things that fulfill you creatively. My wife, for example, she's wanted to be a teacher ever since she was a little girl, and she's doing that. And there are times where she has to bring work home for a little bit, and I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to do that in my job, and that I can still be in a band and still do podcasts and still act every now and then. It's a little bit tougher with my job on the weekends. I mean, that takes up a lot of my time, but that's just part of the deal. So those are sacrifices you have to make sometimes in life, and there's not really much more to say to that. But like I said, I'm busy, but I don't think it's overly challenging to balance all those things. So that's just how I try to live my life. So that's a little glimpse into what I go through on a weekly basis. So thank you, Nick, for that question. So that is it for this episode of the Phoenix Report. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at JackXConnor. Like me on Facebook at facebook.com/JackConnorMusic. Also, feel free to check out my band at www.vertebreaker.net. And, like I said, I was answering some questions earlier. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, make sure you email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com or tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. If you're listening to this on YouTube or iTunes, make sure you subscribe, leave a comment, and go back and listen to all the other episodes. Thank you guys again for joining me this week. I know it's been kind of a short one, but hope you enjoyed it. This has been the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor. We'll see you again soon. Bye.